Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the SCSL Season 4. We're here in the round of 16. We've got Snow versus True today. I'm going to be hopping right into the action, guys. It's a best of 5 between these two. True, the underdog here for sure, wouldn't you say, Xun?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's basically a StarCraft 2 pro that's, kind of coming back and trying to see if he can reinvent himself as a Brood War player yet again. He has played back in the day a little bit during the sort of, late Kesper stages, but not really having a strong showing in StarCraft 1. So it's really mainly like, Heart of the Storm, Wings of Liberty, where he was actually performing well in the pro circuit. He's now trying to come back to Brood War, his probably roots, and see if he can make something of it. But against the likes of Snow, might be a tough series.
Yeah, for sure. I expect Snow to do very well here. Should be able to dispatch of True pretty quickly. True, unfortunate, he managed to meet up with Snow this early on in the tournament, but he is going to have a tough time here. If he manages to take down Snow, it would be a huge upset and would really propel him forward and give us a lot of stuff to think about, man. If True manages to get to that level this quickly, that would be something else.
I mean, he has been playing pretty good. We saw some nice performances from him in the ASL. He has shown an understanding of Brood War and how to play it. It's not like he's a total noob or something. I mean, he was using Muta Hydra pretty good in some of those Protoss versus games using the title BTS instead of True in these matches, but we'll probably refer to him as True for the most part. But yeah, I mean, he has shown some promise. He even brought out borrowed Zerglings in a versus Terran game. So he's definitely thinking about the game a little bit outside of the box, and that's kind of interesting to watch. He might bring us some spicy gameplay as a result of his slightly unorthodox thinking. And I'm hoping that he can shape himself into a competent player in the years to come.
I hope so too. Guys, we're going to jump right into this first game. Let's see Snow versus True, game number 1. Can he upset our expectations? Here we are on Eclipse. This is Snow's map pick, and it's going to go back and forth, guys. So Snow gets to pick map 1, BTS aka True taking map 2, and then back to Snow again, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And I'm not too surprised that we see Eclipse being picked from Snow. I mean, pretty much any 1v1 map, with a few exceptions, are very favoring Protoss in the sense of you're getting that guaranteed early scout, which means the likelihood of being able to block a hatchery going down early is very likely. Kind of forces the Zerg to play ultra safe. They can sometimes still ninja out a drone to expand and what have you, but also opens up the possibility of cannon rushes. So generally speaking, this is an information warfare matchup, and being one position needed to scout does kind of favor the Protoss overall.
Can be a little tough here to defend everywhere with lurkers as well. The Protoss can come down multiple different lanes, hit you from different angles, and really do have to respond carefully as the Zerg player once we get into that sort of a mid-late game transition period of the game, and it can be tough. Snow feeling confident here, gonna throw down a Nexus first against, what is this, Overpool? That's a bit ballsy from Snow.
Yeah, it is a little bit ballsy. I mean, it is forced cross map, so a few extra seconds added to that rush distance makes you feel a little bit more confident as long as the probe can get a bit of slowdown on those initial Zerglings. He hasn't got enough lava to make 6 right off the bat. He set off the drone to expand onto the 3rd base location. So should be able to get away with this scot-free, it seems. It's possible that he could have 6lings about to pop out, but I highly doubt it, and it'd be a little bit too late now to punish Snow, I think.
Yeah, and also I think a part of this is Snow being so annoying with the probe here, hitting the drones over and over again. True's not going to send lings across the map when he expects there's probably a cannon done back at home, and his mining is being slowed down in his main, so he wants to get rid of this probe as soon as possible. Sending those directly across the map, not going to be in the cards here. True will not be able to get any sort of a punish going, and Snow's maneuvered this pretty well with just these couple of small moves.
Yeah, and usually as long as that cannon started before the Zerglings have started to come down the ramp, it should finish up in time. Unless it's really quick rush distances like a map like Fighting Spirit or what have you. So pretty much Snow getting away with murder right now. I mean, it is possible that True could play a little bit greedy and try and squeeze out some extra drones than usual, but honestly, you kind of just have to play from behind in these positions, and it's not really much counterplay.
Yeah, this is really enabled by the fact that on Eclipse, you're not able to get the Overlord to the natural in time to find out when that cannon's going to be started, so True wasn't able to see that. And now that he does see what's going on here, he's not going to be too happy about it. Sabercore going down in the natural. That's how tight this build is. Didn't even have a second pylon until just now, so cutting a lot here. Snow's able to get away with a pretty solid early economy, and he is really going to have a lot of stuff for that mid-game push. That 2-base timing will be very scary.
Yeah. He's just going to have more stuff, basically. It's similar to when, you know, Terran players go for CC first against Zerg. They pretty much play the same way. They just have way more of a macro engine to operate within, and sometimes way crisper timings to exploit as a result. And yeah, Zerg unfortunately doesn't have a lot of counterplay to that. Zealot making his way into the third base is also going to lose a lot of mining time, potentially. He might not get a drone, which is a good pull there from True to try and mitigate disaster. He's going to try and shuffle around, do a little ring around the rosy of the hatchery and get back to mining as soon as possible. He knows he needs every drop of juice right now.
Well, you see this Overlord here kind of sitting over the third base from True. I've noticed a lot of pro Zerg players will send that out a little bit, so you have a tiny bit more notice that the Zealot is making its way over here. True has decided not to do that, and so he's paying the price. He will finish this Ling speed, though, just in time to surround this one Zealot. Almost gets the kill on that. We'll be able to bring up a few more in order to get rid of these Zealots now. However, another Zealot heading in towards the natural. This is going to continue until BTS completely clears out everything and has Lings in front of Snow's base.
Yeah, the problem True is going to have is, despite knowing how to play StarCraft, there's these little tiny nuances and finesse and skill checks that these other pros can throw his way, and he'll have a little bit of a hard time navigating them flawlessly. And the Zealot now getting to the main base. He's going to confirm the Spire timing, which is a really big scout just before the Corsair's on its way, which means he can line up with the Scourge timing perfectly and avoid losing that free. He does get a drone as well. If he gets a second one, that's absolutely madness, but just one single drone kill, but already a lot of lost mining time there for True. And against the Nexus first, he's going to be feeling the pressure.
Oh, for sure. Definitely feeling the pressure right now. Going to lose an Overlord. And he's supply blocked as well. I hope he managed to slip out a couple of Scourge as that supply block was coming through. More Zealots slipping out on the map as well. Snow knows that the pressure is on right now and wants to keep it rolling, keep the ball rolling here, see if he can get another Overlord kill. And with these two Zealots coming into the third, if BTS isn't ready for that, he could end up taking even more damage here. There's the Scourge that popped out, but BTS still supply blocked. These two Zealots can't be dealt with just the few Lings that remain, and so it appears that these Zealots are going to back off for now. Wait for that third Zealot to come in towards the natural before pulling the trigger.
Yeah, if you can help it, you want to set up 1-2 punches. So if these two Zealots do get cleaned up, there's a likelihood that this other Zealot on the other lane can get something done in the natural and what have you. Ling's a little bit slow to respond to this. Yet again, losing so much mining time is True, as well as those Zealots tucking behind those minerals for more maximum value trades. Even kind of come out here and get another drone snipe, a bit of a drone drill, trying to prevent that from allowing the Zealots getting to safety. But he kills 3 drones, maybe 4 in the process. He gets 4 drone kills. Oh, this is really painful for True. I don't know if he can keep up with the economic curve of the game. Even losing drones in the natural as well, saying Snow's playing really well.
Yeah, this is too much, guys. 5 drone kills. Very difficult to come back even against a mediocre Protoss player, but against Snow, this is an insanely difficult position. He will try to re-drone from here. He's killed quite a few Zealots so far this game, but he's just behind the ball. He's behind the curve. Snow clearly able to kind of outmaneuver him in these early game trades. And we all know how strong he is in that later game PVZ. So good with his control and army movement, and of course Reavers if it ever gets to that. Plenty of mutas have been made. Oh, a run by here on top of these cannons. That Templar just makes an Archon in time. Gonna be able to block that ramp pretty well. Only 2 Lings slip by. That was a pretty slick move to make the Archon on the ramp.
Yeah, I mean, but also kind of good for True in the sense of, you know, that's less storm that will be available to the Protoss player. So maybe he can make something happen, although the Archon will act as good point defense against those Mutalisks with that Sonic Shockwave. So still going to get value out of those units, and now not so much of an easy target for these Mutalisks to exploit. Corsairs in the air as well as the Archon. That move might come back to haunt True a little bit, because that Archon will provide a lot of value against these Mutalisks. Needs to get some good surface area connections with those Corsair fleet and start picking them off with the Scourge as they flood in. But if he doesn't find any Corsair picks, it's going to be a little bit of a nightmare for True. And he's still only just now starting to drone up to his normal saturation at 9 minutes. He's definitely behind schedule.
This is a huge commitment into Scourge, trying to keep himself alive here against this Archon push. It's not that many units from Snow, but this is a very dangerous force that he's going up against. That's a lot of Corsairs. Turning the Corsairs here at the last moment. He's trying to get some movement, some micro here going. Trying to pull away the Corsairs here right at the last second. 2 Templar go down in the natural. No Storm available. I thought he would storm those Scourge there to try and force them back, but a lot of these Corsairs are going down, man. Doing good work here, killing off all these Corsairs and continuing to chase this down. Very good micro from Snow, but he loses all but 1 Corsair.
Yeah, I'm kind of impressed from BTS True. He's actually showing that he has, you know, Brood War caliber micro that's within him. He just needs to figure out this early game shenanigans, and he might become a more complete player over time. Still technically behind the curve of the game, having to make more and more sunken colonies to defend. He knows there's a strong timing attack that's going to be coming his way from Snow. The 3 sunkens might be enough to buffer and save him. We'll also have to manually target that Archon with a sunken perhaps to help get that HP low on it. It is quite low on HP already actually, so maybe, just maybe, somehow True can hold here, but it's looking pretty dire. He's just now popped the Archon with the tentacles of that sunken, now trying to clean up the remainder of the Zealots. All of the sunkens have fallen in a natural, so now the drones will start to go down, as well as some Zealots running into the main base. They will kill more drones as well as the Spire.
Yeah, might go after that Spire. Looks like he will pull back. Still a lot of mutas here, so he can dish out the damage quite quickly, but despite, you know, pushing this back and being able to re-drone, so much love is being spent for BTS in refilling this drone count, and Snow's going to continue to grow. He's even taking a base down bottom right. Oh, that's so annoying for BTS. I can't tell you how many games I've lost because the Protoss player got away with a base like this. Placing that down in bottom right kind of for free here, while BTS has to re-drone. He's going to go ahead and catch some of these Zealots out on the map. If he sent those mutas down to bottom right now, he could easily shut that down, but he just doesn't know about it, and Snow's going to get away with that for free. Still dodging around here, avoiding this Archon, doing a good job of it. Seems like he might have spotted that now. Very big information there. Seeing that probe transfer down to bottom right, and he knows he needs a 4th base, or he needs to shut this base down immediately, because he's going to fall further and further behind.
I mean, there is a possibility here for True to make this work, but not scouting that base is really going to punish him later on, and these Zealot attacks are still coming his way. He's going to have to keep cycling into his main base to defend against the Zealots that are going to be raining down Psi blades onto those probes, and the lost mining time is really going to start to rack up. It's 50 minerals per minute per worker, so having to slide around your workers constantly to avoid losses is really painful, even not including the ones that actually do fall and get taken out by the target firing of Snow. He's been pretty relentless with his assaults thus far, and getting that 3rd base more or less undeterred is kind of insanity. I mean, Snow could even double expand and take this other base in the bottom right and kind of just play crazy from here.
Yeah, he's got plenty of money. You can see 1,600 minerals in the bank. So many Scourge flying in the air. Great target for some of those storms. The Scourge die in less than a second. The moment that the storm lands on them, they just disappear, and so much of that gas is wrapped up in those Scourge right now. Would be a great pickup. Sees the base being taken down here at the bottom right. This is untenable. Cannot keep up with Snow's control and his decision making here. He's just gotten further and further ahead over and over again, chasing down the Corsairs right now. He's going to chase them all the way back to the base, but Zealots are making their way into the natural. Just not enough sunken colonies here to defend.
Yeah, he's not paying attention, so he's not even putting damage onto that Archon with the Sunken to make it easier for the Mutalisks to clean up when they get back to base as well. I mean, this is just an absolute nightmare. Snow is running a clinic on True, dispatching him in easy fashion and showing why it's so hard to play StarCraft at the pro level. StarCraft 2 teaches you great fundamentals in RTS in general, but there's nothing that compares with the task switching that's required and micro ability of StarCraft Brood War. The only thing I would say comes close is a game like Age of Empires 2, and I doubt that True has played a lot of that either. Hydrogen now going down, so he's pretty much relegated to making only Scourge, Mutas, and Zerglings. He has to tap out. GG is called, and Snow taking a very convincing early lead in the series.
Damn, that's a painful way to start there. Pulled back and forth relentlessly by Snow, just making him regret all of his life decisions there by sending those Zealots in left and right. That is such a painful way to go down, man. I've lost so many times to those little Zealot timing attacks. Yeah. Frustrating to say the least, man. True's got to be feeling it right now.
Oh, absolutely. It's not easy to deal with, saying we can kind of, empathize a little bit here with True. It's not easy, unless you're like a really high caliber Zerg playing out of your mind. It's almost impossible to avoid any form of damage. Some of these really, tried and true players, pun intended, of like Sulky, Hero, and what have you, they can avoid those kind of shenanigans from becoming too much of a problem. But pretty much any other Zerg, mediocre or lower, is going to have a really hard time at stopping someone like Snow getting in and doing what he needs to do to put himself ahead of the curve.
Let's see if True can adapt a little bit here, start to catch those Zealots and prevent Snow from getting that early damage that snowballed out of control. Game number 1. We're jumping into our next one, guys. Here we go. Game number 2. Going to be on Dominator. True's map pick. He's spawning over here in the bottom left. Snow center right. Let's get into it.
Okay. I mean, these spawns are pretty good for Protoss if they want to go for something crazy like a Reaver Sair play, but I mean, these spawns don't really affect too much. Although it looks like Snow wants to take advantage of the fact that this isn't such a good map for Protoss in the later stages. About a 60% win rate for Zerg, so he's instead going to say, okay, I'll put the pressure on this map and go for a bit of a cheesy play and try and get a quick win on this map to avoid the pitfalls that Protoss usually face, and don't let the Zerg get away with a normal macro game here. He's going to put a lot of pressure on with a 9-9 gate.
I'd like to draw your attention to the doodads here in the middle of the map. This came into play in ASL as well. Snow.
Right.
Double gate in the center on this specific map. Clearly, he's got this mapped out. Those Zealots in those little corners there between the doodads are so hard to deal with, and that's a very difficult pylon to get completely surrounded as well. So definitely he seems to favor 9-9 gate just on this map specifically.
Right. I mean, I think it was also a choice because of the map imbalance, but you can get a safer 9-9 gate because of those doodads, making it way harder to get surrounds on the Zealots and pylon to kind of punish the Protoss player by outmaneuvering them. And you can kind of abuse those nooks and crannies. And he's also faking a cannon rush while doing this to really throw True off his game. He's pulling additional drones to basically defend something that's not even occurring. And if Snow wanted to, he could try and make a shield battery up here or something, but he doesn't need to. He's just kind of throwing a curveball True's way here and making him think this is some other type of shenanigan, but this is a different type of cheese pizza that's going to be delivered to his door.
Yeah, I've seen Protoss players build a cannon or build a pylon like that, then build the second pylon and hop their probe over so that they can build the the shield battery on high ground there. It's a pretty nasty play. But Snow here gonna get into this main base, start to put on some serious damage. Might get a drone right away, right off the bat. Great pull there. Oh my gosh, he actually keeps that alive. That's crazy. Went right through the Zealot, still managed to survive, but this is very dangerous situation. BTS only has the 2 hatches to work with, and he's trying to pump out enough lings to handle this. All right, gets a pretty good drone drill there, actually trapping one of those Zealots, doing a very good job getting on top of it. He kills it for free. Very big kill there on one of the very first Zealots. Some more lings popping out here. Good surround on this one Zealot, but he can't take this fight just yet. Needs to pull back and form all of his all of his lings together. Another very nice pull there on top of those Zealots. This is going quite well for BTS, I have to say.
Yeah, and the 2 Zealots and the Natural will not kill that hatchery fast enough. He is going to clean up this probe and Zealot quick enough to then come and defend this hatchery. Maybe get it down to about half HP or so at best, but it's not going to be enough to compensate for Snow. Snow's in a little bit of trouble now. Has to hold the ramp with the 2 Zealots and probe. Try and body block and get some good trades. The probe does help the Zealots get 2 shots on these Zerglings, kind of get them the pseudo +1 upgrade with those particle beam connections. Waits for the more round of Zealots to come in. Snow might still have this if he can stop too many of these Zerglings getting out onto the map. With that doodads in the center, makes it very hard to counterattack and just kill the pylon behind this. So still not out of the woods yet is true, but so far pretty good early game defense. Snow still could out-micro him.
Overlord just finished, and so True was suddenly able to make a bunch of lings. So 6 lings gonna pop in the natural, probably 4 to 6 lings just popped in the main as well, and he's going for the counterattack. I think he's got enough here. He just needs to buy a bit of time so that the lings in the main base of Snow can deal some damage. More lings are gonna pop out here. Oh, he's doing so much good work. Actually, BTS clearing out everything. True's gonna do it, I think. He's killing a bunch of probes in the main base. This is some fantastic micro from our Zerg player. Absolutely crushing down this 2-gate play. Shutting down Snow here as he tries to put on that early pressure.
Oh, this would be a great equalizer. He's even got a safety sunken that's about to come up in the main base, just in case the game state continues and he needs a little bit of extra defense back at home so he can commit more Zerglings on the map. He wants to keep this hatchery in the natural as alive as long as possible for the extra lava. He's doing a good job with these slowlings in the main base, killing a few probes here and there. He's not actually won the game just yet, but he's in a phenomenal position. If he can handle the task switching ability of microing on 2 fronts, he's got a good chance here to knock out Snow in this game number 2. Gets a pretty good surround those Zealots, takes out one of them. Snow shuffling and juggling these Zealots around, trying to abuse the probe as well, but it might not be enough. He's really doing a great job of killing these Zealots over and over again and never allowing a critical mass to be achieved by Snow. And more Zerglings now doing the work in the main base of Snow, trying to pick off some of these periphery pylons and forcing the probes to come to him, so he doesn't have to pay too much attention to the micro of those Zerglings. We can concentrate mainly on just cleaning up the Zealots on his side of the map, and now committing with more and more forces out onto the map and trying to do a checkmate move on Snow.
Yeah, that's a big wave of lings making their way to the main, and there it is. GG. This momentum play, this cheese from our Protoss player did not pay off. Excellent. You gotta say, that was some spectacular drone control there in the early game, keeping everything alive in that main base and constantly getting on top of those Zealots. You gotta put your hands together, guys. Absolutely. For True in that dire situation, handling his business very, very well.
Not only that, but Snow was trying to exploit the fact that True had built his spawning pool to optimize the mining on that top patch, and that kind of haunted Snow because he was trying to abuse the tight little nooks and crannies created by that spawning pool in the main base. That was what led to the brilliant drone drills. So it's almost like Snow baited himself there, trying to exploit the Sim City of the Zerg to prevent surrounds on his Zealots is the very thing that allowed for such beautiful drone drills in the first place. Really like to see True, actually have a good early game defense against someone of Snow's caliber. It gives me hope for him as a future contender in the StarCraft scene.
For sure, and also going across the map, going for that main base rather than trying to do an attack on that pylon over in the middle of the map. That was a great choice from True as well. Guys, we're going to jump into game number 3. Let's get it. 1-all on the board. in this best of 5. Snow, bottom right. True, down in bottom left. Radon, back to Snow's map pick. Is here. Possibly going to be opening with a Forge expansion, although he did try to get away. Or no, he's going to go Gateway this time. He pulled the probe back, so Gateway in the front. Generally, a lot of Protoss players like to play greedy here, but Snow wants to put on some early pressure. He knows that BTS is somewhat weak to that, although that last game, he certainly didn't look weak at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great tempo shift going forward. I mean, we did expect True to maybe get a game-winning move on that map. It is a very Zerg-favored map when all said and done. 6-4 kind of odds. And the fact that he did it, though, with defending a 9-9 gate is very exceptional. Definitely worth a lot more weight than just, you know, winning a straight-up macro game where he's able to abuse the factors of the map a little bit here. And that's the kind of build that Snow can throw out and really put the pressure on and beat you. So the fact that he's showing caliber enough to defend against something like that, which Snow was pulling out in the ASL just recently, makes me think that, you know, there is some hope here for True, but we're going to be seeing a very interesting play from Snow this time. He's going to kind of like double bluff, I think, here. So it's going to be like a gateway first into a cannon rush. It's going to be very strange, this play, because he's going to make it seem like, oh, all I'm doing is a cannon rush, but actually there's going to be a Zealot coming behind this as well.
Yeah, this is about as all-in as it gets for Protoss in this matchup. He's going to build a cannon here on the other side of the wall. It gets a drone kill already, but the probe is quite low, and look at this probe sliding over the wall. He can target this down, get rid of this probe, and only one cannon's not going to quite do the job, but with the Zealot helping out here, there's a good chance that he can shut this down. Can shut down this natural. Might have to go for some Sunkens here to keep this alive, but the Zealot is right there, ready to start trying to block that. Going after the probe. Can he get the movement on that? He does, but one drone goes down. 2 drones go down. Now it's getting a little rough for True.
Yeah, it's great target firing on the spines of those drones to actually kill that probe, but he kind of pays the price for it as well. Zergling's starting to come out now to protect this valuable Sunken. He needs that Sunken on healthy HP to prevent this other cannon coming online and punishing him. But the Zealot gets enough punches on that, maybe that the second cannon could actually finish off that Sunken. He needs to maybe commit the Zerglings to killing that photon cannon. Oh, he actually just cancels it. I guess it's probably a safe decision. He only needed like 4 connections to kill the Sunken, but decides against it just to get the money back so he can optimize his build back at home and rely on just causing as much pressure with as little as possible so he can transition into a more normal mid game if needed. But that's a lot of Zerglings that are about to start knocking on the door.
Yeah, and I think that True can actually get enough Lings out here to kill this cannon. One cannon takes a long time to kill a hatchery, and so all he needs is about 6-8 Lings. If he can get good enough surface area on that cannon, he can save the hatch. Gonna get the gateway here at the natural. That's really gonna slow down the tech of Snow. Oh my god, he hasn't finished it off here. He has not finished off that all-important gateway. The gateway lives. You've got to be kidding me. That was on such low HP. Oh, and the hatchery goes down. Oh no.
To one cannon as well. Yeah, he kind of needed compensation in the way of killing that gateway to be okay about this position at all. And even then, Snow is technically ahead. So yeah, when all said and done, True in a little bit of trouble. He's going to just probably go all in Lings here and try and abuse the fact that that gateway is so low. But Snow can make a forge in its place as it dies to kind of help buffer and create another secondary wall in if he needs to. All hands on deck from the probes while this second cannon warps in, and he tries to finish off another Zealot in production to deal with this. Zealot also coming into the main base to cause some pressure while True is distracted, trying to do this run-by attempt to get on top of the cannon. Beautiful probe blocking, but he will kill the cannon. Can he kill any more additional forces of Snow and make this into a win? He's killed the second cannon warping and has to rotate into the main base. Will not be able to kill that gateway anymore. Can he handle microing against that Zealot on his base? Does seem like he did clean that up without losing too much, but it's going to be very challenging for him now to win. And from this position, he has to kill this Zealot in the main base of Snow and kill a lot of probes to make this work.
Yeah, this is a nightmare right now for BTS. He did not get the greatest connections on that cannon, so it took a long time to kill, and the probes got so much damage. during that bust. Now going to bring 2 Lings over here to the left-hand side. Tries to kill that. Great probe block again. Just holding back those Lings from running away. Allowing them to be picked off, or allowing the Zealots to deal their damage. BTS Snow. True just barely hanging on right now, hoping beyond hope that these Lings can do massive damage in the main, kill tons of probes so they can somehow find a way back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'm seeing it. I mean, he's so used to the auto micro of StarCraft 2, where your Lings auto surround and you can easily control all of your units in one big deathball blob and be okay about it. In Brood War, totally not the case at all. Requires much more finesse of control to get the value out of your units, and someone like Snow is very adept at how he controls his units. So if these were Jaedong Lings back in the day, maybe this could work, but as it stands, I do feel like this is going to be a slow death for True.
17 total supply. Hardly any drones here. Looks like about 9 drones in total, something like that. And 4 Zealots are going to make their way across the map. Look at how many probes there are in this main base. There's got to be like 30 probes at least.
Pretty much.
And, you know, some of those are going to be transferred over to the natural as soon as that's done. Snow making his way over to this 3rd base right as the Lings are going across the map. He's just going to counterattack this. If there's anything in the wall to block with the cannon behind it, BTS Snow True is just going to tap out.
Yeah, if there's 2 cannons as well, there's just no way. I think there is. Well, oh, there's a 2nd cannon warping in. Zealot's just barely blocking, so it has to be a tap out. GG is called, and Snow re-establishing dominance in the series and puts True on match point.
Another tough game here for True, but he almost managed to hold that. It seems like he's very, very good at micro when everything is on one screen. I can relate. The micro is so much harder to do when you're dealing with 2 different locations at the same time. You're trying to micro on 2 different fronts. That multitask, that task switching is something that these players have developed over years and years of practice, guys, but maybe not quite there yet. Though he does seem to have, like I said, solid micro when it comes to just, you know, 1 screen worth of units to deal with. We're going to jump into this next game, guys. Here we go. Once again, True's map pick. Metropolis with Snow in the bottom right and True over here in the top left. These guys have been winning on their map picks so far, for the most part. Yeah, actually, totally. Snow started out with his map pick, so yeah, they've been winning on their own map picks so far. Kind of an inverse of what we saw in ASL.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? I think that's mostly down to how we analyzed back then, where, you know, players know that someone else has got a very specific build order in mind for those maps. They try and throw out like not only a feeler build, but something that's actually going to disrupt any possible plan of action from the other guy and force him to freestyle more. And seem to be very valuable in going for those kind of attempts to keep throwing the monkey wrenches into the infrastructure of the other guy and force him to adjust. And ooh, True is mixing things up with a 9-pull speed here, potentially, saying
this could go very well, or it could go incredibly poorly. It all depends. Very early scout here from Snow, sending out 2 early probes to go ahead and try to find where BTS is at. And this is going to work out great for Snow. He added on a very quick forge, maybe thinking about, I could probably do a cannon rush on this map. However, as soon as he sees this, can easily send a probe down to his natural and drop a couple of cannons. 2 cannons will absolutely hold this off and put Snow in a very nice, comfortable position.
I mean, technically, this is an overpull speed. It's a very unusual way of playing this matchup. Yeah, it's an overpull speed, so slightly delayed timing on the pull, but still more or less going for the same thing, just with slightly delayed Ling timings and what have you. So we'll have to see if he can get a lot of value out of that. I'm curious to see what the game plan is. Is he going to try and kick the probe scat out and then do a crazy lurker all in? Or is he going to actually commit into these speedlings and try and punish Snow, knowing that Snow may be attempting a Nexus first here?
I mean, it's crazy that he went Nexus first there. Wild that he would even consider that, but he does go Nexus first. Then he builds his cannon, first cannon, then gateway, then second cannon. No, he doesn't even have a second cannon. Dude, Snow is so good at cutting corners, man. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, True is kind of unlucky in this game because there's no close spawns, so he actually doesn't get there with the Zerglings to punish anything that Snow's doing right now. And the only thing going for True is that he'll have more Zerglings to try and do a run by before Snow might be able to react to that. There won't be a Zealot out to defend against this necessarily, but he could pull 3 to 5 probes to prevent any kind of damage before the second cannon's warped in. He's got the basic 3 count of probes. That's the bare minimum you need. And he's trying to be as greedy as possible. Pulls a 4th probe just in case. But now that the second cannon has morphed in, this should be over. I don't think True can commit to this anymore.
No, he can't. 2 cannons is too much damage. It almost feels like you have to do something. But maybe there's an okay transition from BT. I'm thinking from the position of a 9 pool speed. Over pool speed, maybe there's something that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
Maybe there's some sort of transition. I just don't even know this build. This is so out of the ordinary.
Oh, it's definitely weird. Yeah, I mean, you don't usually see that. You see either 9 pool speed or just a 9 pool gas trick or just an overpool without a gas. Overpool with gas is a Zerg versus Zerg way of playing. So yeah, definitely not optimized for versus Protoss, but was kind of trying to catch Snow off guard. But about it being close positions, you got a little bit unlucky. Like, say if Snow was in the top right, for example, those Lings actually maybe could have achieved something.
Right, and you know, if there was close positions, maybe he would have gotten more of the reaction that he was maybe looking for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hoping that Snow would see the gas and just immediately drop 2 cannons. But since Snow, he knows this game and this matchup really feels like he's leveled up so much in the past couple of years. Really is becoming kind of a god of PvZ. The only person who can beat him really consistently right now is, of course, SoulKey, but he just looks at that build and he's like, all right, yeah, I could get a Nexus here. Even though it's such a weird build, such an unorthodox build, he just knows, I have enough time.
Well, I mean, Snow has improved a lot in this matchup. Like, about a year or 2 ago, he was really struggling versus some of the top Zergs in the scene. But like you say, these days, not so much. Like, this guy's really started to dial it in and figure it out and make himself a more complete, potentially championship tier player. And this was really the one thing that was holding him back from achieving that kind of status. His Protoss versus Terran with that Reaver control was so good. His Protoss versus Protoss as well. Really high level stuff. He can beat pretty much anyone in the scene right now, besides players like SoulKey seem to be giving him too much of a run for his money. But that could change as the future ticks on and he keeps improving in this versus Zerg matchup. And who knows, maybe SoulKey gets knocked out by a Zerg or something next season and suddenly we have a totally different champion on our hands.
I'd love to see it, Xun. I'd love to see Snow become a champion. I've been cheering for this guy for a really long time, and for now, I'm just going to be moving across the map here against True, looking for that closer. If he can get it, we'll be moving forward into the next round. He only needs this one more game, and it looks like he's managed to maneuver around the Lings. Look at this. True has Lings in the middle of the map, and this army makes its way all the way in to this third base. Might end up getting trapped, though. Lings on both sides. 2 Overlords do die, but Lings hitting from both angles here, going to completely surround this. He's just kind of coming in haphazardly. I wish he would bring everything together and hit this from both sides, get a full surround on that. Seems like he will eventually clean it up. No, still holding strong here on the ramps. No. Microing that perfectly while killing these Overlords and keeping all these Corsairs alive. Really well done.
This is the problem with pretty much any amateur Zerg player, is they struggle to bring all of their forces to bear simultaneously in synchronization and set up those perfectly timed pincer attacks and flanks like you need to do versus something like Terran Mech. And if you can't execute that, unfortunately you're not going to get the value needed. These units are so brittle, so if you kind of trickle into the Protoss or whatever race you're facing up against, you're kind of at a deficit. Like, Zerg need to surround and kind of play maneuver-based warfare and kind of try and get one over their opponents. But it looks like actually the hat-tree might fall. He's going to get it. That's insane. Just barely killing that with a couple of Zealots to tuck tail and run. I actually think maybe he should have committed one of those Zealots to the drone line and run the other one away. That would have been better.
Well, it looks like he's going to turn one of them around, realizing that these are both dead in the water. Hatchery starts once again over here at the third. BTS hurting on Larva. Not having enough Larva here. He may be forced to continue with this Mutalisk play. Try to get as many of those out as possible. He's actually not very well optimized in his mineral patches either. Did you see that natural? Almost empty, whereas the third oversaturated at this point. So BTS maybe a little flustered. No, not that oversaturated. Okay, I kind of missaw that. It's all right here as another round of drones makes its way to the natural. Looks like he's managed to smooth that out all right. And Snow's going to try and slip in with another Zealot, try to deal even more damage here to the mineral line.
Yeah, we see True trying to adjust by maintaining a Muta Scourge composition, trying to be an Ogre Zerg gamer here. Hopefully he can find something with it. He did a good job in killing the Corsairs in that game number 1 on Eclipse. He's going to have to get a repeat performance with that. Will he lose a drone? Not quite. Good target firing to deny that Zealot. Another precious kill. He's done an okay job this game. Like in game number 1, he lost a lot more drones. The problem is that he started off with an overpull speed and a bit of a failed attempt. There's also a Dark Templar in the mix. I hope he sees the blur to know that he needs to keep some forces back behind to make sure he can defend against that and not allow the Corsairs to come in, clean out the Overlords, and then go to town on the drone line with that Warblade.
Yeah, important to start Overlord speed soon as well. Otherwise, Snow will be able to deny a fourth for a crazy long time. Here's the Archon. Not enough Sunkens here to target that Archon down. So he's going to have a really hard time. Oh, these hits from the Archon are devastating. He's going to start to lose Mutas. Okay, he keeps all the Mutas alive, but they're on super low HP. The Corsairs can rip through them if they get the chance, and so he has to maintain all of these Scourge here. That is so many Scourge. That's like, I think he's got more than 40 Scourge at this point.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. I mean, that's definitely slightly more than 2 control groups worth of Scourge. I think that's about, yeah, like 30 or so Scourge. Kind of insane.
I think there's more back at home as well. It's crazy how much is made.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot.
Oh,
I guess he's...
no.
13 kills on the Dark Templar, and he's maybe going to kill the Spire. Okay, just barely will save the Spire, but I mean, what can you say about that? That's critical damage. He has enough drones in the other saturated lines to transfer those over to his main base, but already a really big win for Snow going forward, making up potentially the deficit of losing some of those forces earlier on to the Mutalisk cleanup squad. And now the Zealot Archon, harder to punish now for True, because he's lost a little bit of his economy regardless of his early game play with the Scourge screening the Corsairs.
Yeah, he's got to take a perfect engagement here. If he wipes out every Corsair, maybe there's still a chance. But look at this micro from Snow, dipping and diving here, dodging backwards away from these Scourge. They're going to go all the way to the natural and finally turn around. That Archon still being annoying out on the map. Looks like he's going to start to wipe out these Scourge that are straying too close to that natural, and a third base starts up. Snow just taking control of this game. There is a base down in bottom left, but I don't know how he defends that. If Snow catches onto it, he's just going to come right down here with the Archon Zealot and Corsair army and start to wipe that out.
There's a bit of a Hail Mary attempt here for True, hoping it becomes, you know, a bit of a trump up his trump card for him to exploit later, but I don't know if that's going to actually pay off for him. He's already potentially just going to die to the straight up Zealot Archon stare pressure. He's going to start losing Overlords by the wayside while trying to hold on to these Zealots that are trying to get into the mineral line. The Archons are ripping through the Hydras and drones that are trying to defend. Only a single Sunken to buffer against this will not be enough. If he had 2 or 3 Sunkens, he might have been able to hold that and target down the Archons with the Sunkens to make the Mutalist Scourge a little bit more effective. But even with all the Scourge connections, actually losing the air fight as well. GG is called, and Snow going to be eliminating True very efficiently here. 3-1. Just, we kind of expected it, but that was a very clinical way of taking out True.
Yeah, that was a very strong game, a strong showing from Snow. True managed to put 1 win on the board, so we'll give him that. Pretty impressed that he was able to take any games off of Snow, considering the imbalance here between these two players. Our next match is going to be Royal versus Killer, guys. That's going to be a fun one, and whoever takes out, or whoever wins, that's going to go on to the round of 8, face off against Snow in that best of 7. Not an enviable position here. A little bit unlucky for these two players. They're going to have to face off against Snow, whoever makes it through.
I mean, we would say the same if they had to face off against Sulky or what have you. It's just that Snow now is becoming a bit of more of a reputable player than he was already. And yeah, he's certainly a much more complete competitor now that he's kind of figured out this Protoss versus Zerg matchup more and more. I kind of don't really envy either Royal or Killer. I do think that Royal should be breaking Killer here, but I mean, anything can happen. Killer is a high execution oriented player, has a lot of mind games, has a lot of early game shenanigans he can muster, and he's very adept in that Zerg versus Terran matchup. So anything could happen in that particular lineup. I'm curious to see how that series ends up panning out. I'm looking forward to casting it.
Yeah, we're going to be casting that, guys, coming up this Thursday, 7 p.m. Korean Standard Time on SCTV EN. Come on over and join us. Otherwise, you'll be able to catch that on the SCSL StarCastTV channel on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been a blast, and we can't wait to complete this round of 16 with you. We'll see you next time for Royal versus Killer. Have a great day.